Welcome to episode 16 of The Martial Truth. Karate needs an intervention. So when I started studying karate 45 years ago, my senior art is Ishinryu Karate. 45 years training. Luckily for me, I don't have any physical problem from studying Ishinryu and studying karate. I've also done a lot of other martial arts, as you know, from following the channel and my background. But we're going to specifically go into karate a little more deeply today and why I feel karate needs an intervention. So, I remember starting in Ishinryu and hearing different teachers, and I remember some of the Okinawan sensei saying, someone asked them, well, how many times should you hit the Makiwara? Start 100 times, then 200 times. And, again, when you're young, you don't know any better. So you're like, oh, okay, so that's what I need to do to develop a super powerful punch. The problem is we don't realize that these things we start to do can cause long-term problems for us, both physically especially, where you're now your body years later, you're wondering why I can't why when I make a fist, I feel some pain in my hand, right? And why when I do this now, boy, I have a lot of pain. Why am I getting hip replacement? Why am I getting knee replacement? Why am I getting shoulder replacement? Okay. You look at older karate people, and a lot of them do not look that healthy. Some of them do, but a lot of them don't. And this is even happening on Okinawa. You're seeing a lot more overweight sensei on Okinawa. Also, things to understand is a lot of karate sensei on Okinawa don't live as long as the general population. So if karate is supposed to be for health, what are we doing that is causing it to shorten our lifespan and maybe not make us so healthy and causing us to get hip replacement, knee replacement, whatever other replacement you want to talk about? So the problem is this. We always hear the word tradition. And people say to me, oh, Mike, you're a traditionalist. Well, I guess you could say I'm a traditionalist. My version of karate is not based on sport. My version of karate is based on it being used in self-defense. Karate was not a military art, but it also wasn't developed by farmers. All right. So to me, traditional karate is you should be able to use it to defend yourself. It's not about scoring points in a tournament. It's not about how you look performing your kata in a tournament for judges. So the key issue here is movement and how should we move. You look at every other sport, whether it be baseball, basketball, football. Let's use baseball as an example. My son was a professional baseball player. He was telling me, Dad, you need to understand every pitcher is now going to be throwing in the 90s. Like when I was a kid growing up, when a pitcher could throw in the 90s, it was like, wow, wow, right? Now everybody's throwing in the 90s. Like no one even thinks about it. So the question is why? Why are they now able to do that? Well, what they do is they literally put pitchers on these motion machines, these motion sensor machines, and they check their delivery. And then what they do is they fix it. And then when they fix the pitcher's delivery, his acceleration, his speed, the speed with which he throws the pitch goes up. So it's his body mechanics that they fix. Okay? So they're using science to advance the sport in case of baseball. In karate, it's the opposite. No, my teacher said to do it like this. Well, okay, but when you do it like that, like I feel a lot of pain in my lower back. Well, no, you got to get over it. You got to work through the pain. That's your problem. My teacher said to do it just like this. And of course, my teacher's infallible. It can't possibly be wrong. One of my favorite sayings is it should be about principles and not personalities. You have a lot of strong personalities in the martial arts. You have a lot of alpha males in the martial arts, okay, and alpha women in the martial arts. And, these people come across, right? They have a lot of presence when they teach. They're really, and people look up to them. I once said to one of my students after a seminar, "What'd you think of the seminar?" And he's like, "Oh, I thought it was great." I said, "Well, what'd you think about how people related to me?" And he said to me, I got to be honest with you, Sensei, it was a little weird. Some of them looked at you like you were a god." And I turned to him and said, "Therein lies the problem," right? So I say all the time to my students, I'll say it at seminars, I am sure I am teaching people things wrong. I'm sure of it. I'm doing my best. I'm trying to figure things out. I'm trying to do the research, but I'm sure I'm making mistakes. And hopefully my students will fix those things. Hopefully someone down the road says, "Wait a second, Sensei told us to move like this, but that's, causing some issues for people. No, we got to figure that out." And they fix it. Okay. So the problem is like in the case of Ishinru, we're worried more about who farted on Tatsuo Sensei's floor in 1958 than we are about getting the style to become better, to improve, to elevate. Everything in karate is, well, no, this is how this famous teacher showed us. No, this is how this famous sensei showed us. So it has to be like this. Well, wait a second. What if that teacher is wrong? Well, how could he be wrong? Well, that's what we have to take a look at. That's why karate needs an intervention. Okay. I once said to a practitioner of Shotokan, I said, "I really wish some senior sensei of Shotokan would look at each other and take a step back and say, this senior sensei needed knee replacement, this senior sensei hip replacement, this senior sensei this senior sensei that," and say, "You think maybe some of our movement's not right? You think maybe the way we're standing, some of it's not right?" And it's not just Shotokan, it's every style, right? I'm lucky, I do Ishinru, our stances are short, okay? Our body movements are a little bit more natural, all right? Can argue with me, that's fine, but they are, all right? You want to look at your art and say, are certain things causing problems from our body? You say, well, what kind of things? Well, I was recently at lunch with a senior Japanese sensei, and I sat down to eat my food, and he said to me, he says, "Kalandra Sensei, I'd like to compliment you on your knuckles." So I laughed, and I said, "Oh, you mean because I don't have the big calluses and scars on my knuckles?" And he said, "Yes." I said, "Yeah." I said, "I still hit the Makiwara. I don't hit it like I used to when I was in my 20s and 30s and even 40s. I said, but I still hit the Makiwara. But I've never been of the idea that I have to develop these scars on my knuckles, and that's going to make my punch stronger and better." And I've punched a lot of people for real, okay? And I've never cut my knuckles punching them, okay? Never. And, why do you need to form these calluses? Well, I think part of it's ego. I think you form the calluses and people say, "Wow, look at that guy's hands," right? "Wow, that guy knows karate," right? And I just think it's totally unnecessary. I'm all for hitting the Makiwara. I'm all for conditioning the skin a little bit on the knuckles I'm going to strike with. But I don't want to put these massive scars on my knuckles, and I don't want to destroy my hands. I've seen practitioners of various arts. I'll use Wichiru as an example, where I saw their fingers, and this finger goes like this, and then it's down like this. The tip of this finger bends like this, and the fingers are all deformed. And why are they deformed? Well, they're breaking boards with their fingertips, and they're doing all these things. And, I understand that people think breaking boards is an important part of karate training, but the question I would ask is why? Why is breaking boards an important part of karate training? How does that benefit me? And if you tell me, well, it demonstrates how much power I have, no, it doesn't, okay? It demonstrates that you can break a board, you can break a piece of concrete. It has nothing to do with how hard you hit a human being, okay? So hitting a human being is a completely different skill set from breaking a brick or a board or whatever, okay? Also, when you're doing these breaks, you may think you're not, but you're hurting your hand a little bit you're hurting the various body parts. And, the thing to realize is, there's video of me doing breaks. I mean, when I was younger, I broke boards. And I don't think it's a big deal if the students want to try it, right? But I don't think it's something that is part of the training. Like, I look at it kind of as a goofy thing. And, when I see a lot of these people that have their hands that just beat the crap, I just say, why do I want that for myself? Like, I'm also an artist. I draw and paint. I don't want to ruin my hands. I want to be able to hold a pencil and hold a paintbrush. I don't want to be not able to do that. I don't want to deform myself. Okay? So I think we have to take a hard look at that and say to ourselves, well, why are we doing this? Well, it's tradition. Okay, well, maybe the tradition's not good. Maybe we have to change the tradition. I don't do any breaking in my dojo. I mean, on occasion, some students might say, hey, sensei, you think we could get some boards and try some breaking? Sure. You want to do that? Knock yourselves out, But, I'll give you a couple of things I witnessed. I witnessed someone who's a world breaking champion at an event. He was going to do a break, and he sent guys out to buy him blocks of concrete. And it was compressed concrete. And I watched him try to break these things, and he broke like one of them, but he was trying to break a bunch of them, and he couldn't break them. And I didn't think any less of him, because I was like, man, I wouldn't even try to break the one. I have no interest in doing that to my body. And, his comment to me afterwards, man, that was some hard stuff. And I just said to myself, and, he kept hitting it and hitting it, and I said to myself, this is not good, right? You're causing inflammation in the body, and we all know from all research that inflammation is not good for us, right? I go to another seminar, and there's a demonstration day, and a guy decides that he's going to break a coconut with a shuto strike. He's going to break a coconut. We all know coconuts are round, right? Okay. So he puts the coconut on the floor, and he comes down, and he slams the coconut as hard as he can with a shuto strike, and instead of breaking the coconut, these two fingers wrap completely around the coconut, break, and he's got a bone protruding from his hand. And I remember turning to my students and say, well, that didn't go the way he thought it was. And we all discussed it afterwards and said, like, what's the point? Like, now he's got permanent damage. Don't tell me when they put the bone back in and they fix everything, his hand's going to be the same. It's not. It's never going to be the same. Why? Well, it's ego. Ego. Well, I'll break one concrete block. Well, wait a second. If that guy can break one, I'm going to break two. Well, wait a second. I'm going to set the world record. Right? Okay. Right? Why? Well, I want to set the world record. Okay, right. It's ego. It's your ego saying you want to do something, and that's fine. But don't think you're pushing the study of martial arts forward by breaking things. You're not. Okay? What we need to do is we need to look at the way we're moving physically and figure out how to move in a way that doesn't cause our body damage. One of my instructors, Lu Chang-yi, the headmaster of Feeding Crane Kung Fu, he would say, do no training that causes injury. And if you're injured, don't train until you're not. So other things we do. We do body conditioning in various martial arts. We have it in Chen Style Tai Chi Practical Method. We have it in Feeding Crane Kung Fu. We have it in Karate. Okay, so people will say, well, you're saying do nothing that causes harm, and body conditioning causes harm. But here's the rub. Body conditioning done right does not cause harm. If you're doing body conditioning like a maniac, and every time you're doing it, you're getting massive bruises, that's a problem. Okay. Body conditioning done right actually increases your bone density. So it's not about conditioning your arm. It's about strengthening the bones. That's what body conditioning does for you. It strengthens the bones, increases the bone density. Feeding Crane, for instance, has a top-to-bottom approach to body conditioning. But the way they do it, it's like this. This is the hit. This is the hit, like this. It's not, right, where you're slamming each other. And even in, when I'm doing Take Italian Ishner, I'll tell people to hit me harder because my arms are so used to it now that a light hit, I don't really get much out of it. But I can't even remember the last time I got a bruise on my forearms from doing body conditioning. I can't remember the last time, I can't remember ever getting a bruise doing the feeding crane body conditioning. So it's a process where you start easier and then you go as hard as you want. Okay? But that's a slow process, all right? And it's not causing damage to the body. Sparring. If you're engaging in Jiu Kumite freestyle sparring in your dojo, I know you're going to say it's non-contact, but there's going to be contact, okay? I came up in the sparring age when there was no sparring gear, okay? None, all right? I remember getting hit pretty hard. I remember getting bruised ribs. I remember getting dropped with strikes to the body. I remember getting punched, kicked in the face, okay? I remember getting, hit where it took a while for that to heal. All that stuff builds up. You're causing inflammation in the body. Some of the deep, wide stances cause inflammation in the body, all right? We can't just keep saying, well, this is the way my teacher said to do it, so I have to do it like this. Our job is to improve on what people before us did. Many of you know Sensei Patrick McCarthy. We're friends, colleagues. We've known each other for years. He sat in my office one time and said to me, they say karate's holistic. But is it? So many people get hurt, and so many people, as they get older, they have all these joint problems. Okay, well, why? We need to examine this. We need to take a hard look at certain practices. And if those practices are causing injury, well, we need to change those practices. Someone once, people in karate are always talking about promotion boards. Oh, we need a board. We need a board of senior sensei to conduct promotion exams. No, we need a board of people to conduct movement studies in karate and figure out how to move. Many of my colleagues and many of my contemporaries, they spend a lot of time worrying about karate history. And look, I love karate history too. I love all martial arts history. But I don't take it too serious because it's just not serious. It's not a serious study. There's some people doing serious work now, okay, that they're relying on documentation, not just, well, that's what my sensei said. My sensei said his sensei told him this and his sensei told him that. Sorry, that's not history. That's hearsay, okay? And again, those stories are fun to hear, but that's not necessarily what actually happened, what was really going on, all right? It's important that we always take a hard look at what we do and try to improve upon it. But for some reason in the martial arts, we're like, oh, we can't do that. Now, again, with certain martial arts, I understand that. But other martial arts, if karate is going to be relevant in the 21st century, right, and it's going to be relevant as a fighting art, as a method of self-defense, well, we should constantly be trying to improve it, right? I say all the time that I'm sure the founder of Ishinru was wrong on many things. And, he saw things he didn't like in the karate he learned, and changed some stuff, right? Whether you agree with it or not, he changed it. He felt these changes were better, right? So I admire him for the fact that he wasn't stuck in tradition. He decided to make some changes. A lot of people won't change whatsoever. No, Miyagi said to do it this way. Oh, Kion said to do it this way. All right, but when I do it that way, I wake up every morning and I've got pain here. Yep, well, you got to get through the pain. No pain, no gain. Now, sometimes that's true, right? You have to work through something till you get used to it. You're going to be sore. You wake up from training, you're sore the next day. But if it's constant soreness and you're constantly waking up banged up from certain movements, not healthy. Okay? So it's important. It's important, I think, to take a hard look at things. And certain styles are more prevalent in terms of hip replacement, knee replacement, other problems with the body. Okay, I'm going to talk about a book here briefly. This is the book. Okay. Karate Styles, Surprising Links to Shortened Lifespan, Technical and Cultural Considerations, an analysis of the lives of over 100 karate eighth dans in the East and West, style differences, karate effects on lifespan, combative environments, inflammation, and medical considerations. This book is by Dr. Jason Armstrong and Dr. Sarvan McClinton. When I saw this book pop up either in an email years ago, it was sent to me, I bought it and I read it. And I was like, wow. The thing that really surprised me were the charts he has. He has charts where he shows what the average lifespan was for an Okinawan at that point, and the age of various karate senseis died. And it's pretty startling. Okay, so he's got it in Okinawa, and he's got it in Japan, and he's got it in the West. The funny thing is, he says in the book, I'm sure many of you will say I wrote this book to make the style of karate that I study be an outlier and be the one where, no, in our style, we live the longest. And he said their style is not that old. It's an offshoot, I believe, of Shito-ryu. And he said, sadly, the early indications are is my style is possibly one of the worst. So, again, it's a book I recommend. Data can be manipulated, but why wouldn't he manipulate it in a way where it would make karate look great, right? And karate be this great practice for health. And I think karate can be a great practice for health if you practice it right. Again, he talks about certain stances not being good for the body, certain positions not being good, certain practices not being good. There's a whole chapter on Sanshin. I'll tell you my philosophy on Sanshin is most people are not practicing it right. And, you know, the thing they say about Sanshin in Okinawa is that Goju-ryu practitioners die young, a lot of them. So, you know, again, I think if you practice Sanshin right, it doesn't do those things to you. But the sad thing is it's become a let's flex our muscles kata. Let's take our shirts off and flex our muscles. You know, not healthy. All right. You know, there's all kinds of things people say about if you practice Sanshin a lot, you'll get this, you'll get that. Okay, so then, you know, either fix it or why are we practicing it? Right? Again, why do we accept certain things? I'll put a link in the description for the book. I think as sensei, it's our job to learn to move in a way that doesn't cause harm to our bodies. That's what the last 25 years or 30 years especially, that's what I've spent most of my time on. I've decided, you know, I've taken a hard look at things I do, and I go by principles, and I go by those universal principles. You know, in Isshinryu Karate, we have the Kempo Gokui, you know, they call it the codes of Isshinryu, you know, the 8 poems of the fist. And, you know, they're there, but people don't follow them. They practice their karate in a way where they're not following those codes, those principles. And you can pull a lot of different books. There's books on Taiji that have a list of principles. The Bubishi has all kinds of principles in it. And then I look at people's karate and they don't follow them. They're too worried about what they look like in a sport competition. They're too worried about scoring a point. And they're not so worried about how to move. And how to move in a way that makes us proficient in fighting, real fighting, okay? And that makes us proficient in that we're not harming ourselves. You know, if you're training Makiwara and you're pounding the Makiwara as you get older, you need to change that practice. You need to slow it down, not do it so much. when you're hitting an object that travels and moves, but it's still making your whole body do a kind of jarring action. Okay, so again, when you're young, your body can handle that more. As you get older, your body's not handling it as well, so you need to adjust your practice. Okay, I have a bad knee. I was born with it. My kneecap sits on a weird angle. The doctors keep saying to me, well, eventually you're probably going to need knee replacement. Okay, maybe I will, right? But so far, so good. I'm still doing all kinds of jump kicks, and all kinds of stuff, right? But I watch with my left leg. I don't push it too hard. I don't pound the heavy bag as much. I don't pound the macuar as much with my left leg because I have a problem there. I'm trying to preserve that leg, I have had students that have gotten knee replacement, but if you ask them, they'll tell you it's not from karate, it's from the job I did. The job I did just beat the hell out of my knees, right? I only know, like in my dojo, I'm trying to think of how many people have gotten hip replacement. And I only think of one, and he doesn't study Ishinra karate. He studies another style of karate. Okay? And another student of mine who studies Tai Chi just got his hip replaced, and he studies another style of karate. And I've told him that some of the biomechanical things they do is not right, and that's what's causing your body problems, and you need to follow principles. Okay? But some people tell me when I tell them that, they're like, yes, sensei, you're right, sensei, yes, sensei. But I'm going to test soon. And I've got to do the movements the way they want me to do, or I won't pass my test. Okay? Again, why aren't the seniors in these arts taking a hard look and saying, why are so many of our people getting hip replacement? Why? Kanazawa sensei, senior Shotokan karate sensei, a legend in Shotokan karate and karate in Japan. In his later years, he couldn't move the way he moved. He couldn't move well. He actually started studying Tai Chi. Karate had really beat up his body. For me, I'm going to be 60, and, people are shocked at how I'm still able to move. And, there's a reason for that. I've tried and spent my lifetime trying to figure out how to move properly. I want to be able to move in that way as long as possible. I'm hoping I'm sitting here when I'm 70 and I'm still moving pretty damn good, where people are like, wow, he's 70? Where the teenagers in my school, when they're throwing punches at me and they can't land because I evade them so quickly, and they get mad. They're like, how can you move like that? You shouldn't be able to. Well, I shouldn't be able to move like that. Why? Because their grandfather sits in a chair, right? Their grandfather's walking with a cane. So the whole idea is we should be able to live a long, healthy life, practice martial arts till we die, and we just die. We don't want it to be where we're suffering, we're crippled. Every time we get out of bed, it hurts, So please, if you're a senior karate sensei, take a hard look and ask yourself some questions. Are certain things we're doing harming our body? And if they are, why are we doing them? Is it because, my teacher did them, or this guy said to do them? And, do we need to make some changes? And, I know my position will be considered, wow, Calandra's calling for certain things. What I'm calling for is us to move our styles forward, And again, if we were all moving properly, right, I wouldn't have to talk about this. If nobody was getting hip replacement, I wouldn't have to talk about this. So, again, I'm going to post the link to the book. You can get it if you want. It's a good book to read. Get your brain thinking about some things, and maybe you'll decide to change some things in the way you do. All right. Hope you've enjoyed this one. It's an important topic. We could go into other things, further detail. In Okinawa right now, it's considered if you don't do well at tournaments, your karate's no good, right? Okinawa needs an intervention, right? Because that's not what karate was about. But that's the way it's become now. So these are things we need to look at. So If you like what I had to say, please like, share, subscribe. I know I keep saying it, but it helps the channel. The YouTube algorithm's a funny thing. If there's topics you'd like me to cover, please send me a message, put it in the comments, and I'm always looking for topics to talk about. You know, both in self-defense and different things, and karate related and other martial arts. And I'll see you next time. Thanks.